Hey guys, welcome back to Lost Ark. It's your boy, photosensitive seizure warning here in the launch. Today is about improving your chaos dungeons, and we're just gonna go through items and things that you should probably just set up to make your life easier and quicker. It's also like the daily that you should probably just do every day, or at least like on rested if you're not doing it every day. You can usually write off other stuff like guardian raids or whatever, but chaos dungeons pretty much give you the most amount of like resources and rewards for time spent in Lost Ark. When we get started here, we want to use the integrated menu as Alt Q, which usually loads up this menu here, and you want to set like a massive preset here. I know actually some players and friends actually don't even have this set up, and I kind of am like looking at them strange, going like, man, you have to do this like very often. It's probably the activity you do the most in Lost Ark. It's essentially the equivalent to grinding in any other MMO. But it's far less time, in my opinion, compared to other MMOs I played, but it's pretty much like the ARPG existence of killing swaths and hordes of mobs and seeing tons of loot drop and rain in the sky, essentially. Whether it's good or bad loot or whatever, sometimes you'll get some really good stuff, most of the time you'll get stuff that you're just going to dismantle and turns into your resource pile. So what you want to do is set up your mass presets. The hotkey is Alt-E, and set these up. Usually when you're going through your skills, you want to look for things that say, essentially, you want to look for skills that say like to challenge foes or lower. Almost all the mobs inside a chaos dungeon are challenge foes or lower. You usually want to pick up these tripods in a skill tree setup. You should have 2 pages by default for everybody. If you need to expand more, it's a little bit shitty where you have to play these blue crystals, which cost real gold or real money in order to get those, but you should have 2 pages, one for bosses, one for chaos dungeon. Chaos dungeon essentially will always be something you should always do. It gives you not only gems, it gives you resources in every single department. It can give you tickets, which can lead to more gems and also completion of weekly quests. Sometimes you'll get a boss, sometimes you'll get a gold portal room. You essentially get pretty much every single resource in the game doing chaos dungeons, and it should realistically only take you about 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes and maybe 4 minutes max per run. So if you do that 2 times per character, you're looking at about 5 to 6 minutes or 6 to 7 minutes depending on like slow load screens or whatever and whatnot. And if you're doing it across 6 characters, it should all be done within like 1 hour or less. It shouldn't really take you that long. So one of the other things, after you set your tripods, you don't necessarily have to always follow through in all the skills that say challenge or foes or lower. Some skills in other classes their skills aren't even actually that good for certain things, so do try and experiment around and see what works for you. And I've done it like across 6 classes. Supports actually do chaos dungeons really fast, so just because you don't do DPS and raids or whatever, don't think that you can't clear chaos dungeons fast. Supports actually clear chaos dungeons surprisingly extraordinarily fast compared to most other classes. And classes like my scrapper here, my strongest hit for chaos dungeons is this earthquake chain because of the giant's advanced tripod. It literally nukes like even the boss mob in the second portal, and that boss mob is not even considered a boss mob, it's considered a challenge mob, so you don't need grudge in there either, just so you know. And in terms of, and that leads us into engravings. So engravings, you want to get preemptive strike on all the time. This is like very good at speeding up a lot of chaos dungeons. This helps with betrayal set, or it helps with classes with like huge one-hitter shots that just wipe the screen of mobs. Gunlancer is a perfect example of this, where you can just spam one skill the entire time, the entire chaos dungeon. I've cleared probably the fastest with my Gunlancer, which was like only like 2 minutes and like 29 seconds to clear all 3 portals on my Gunlancer. That's the fastest class I can figure out to clear chaos dungeons. So preemptive strike, you want to max this out as soon as you can. It's for something that you're gonna do probably like a majority of the time with all your characters, and it's very quick and short. It's not that long in terms of anything else in the game, and it gives the most back for you. The second engraving that you want is Contender. It's always going to be active after you kill like that first wave of mobs. This will pretty much give you a 17.5% attack power boost, which is more than most traditional engravings give you in that realm of activity. Don't necessarily strictly chase after accessories for these engravings. Just try and find them along the way when you're doing chaos dungeons, so you're not just burning time or like wasting phaons and gold trying to buy accessories, as well as like not many people list them anyways. So just if you see like preemptive strike or contender, just hold on to them and maybe like fill out a set for yourself. Always check these little icons here for favorites so that it actually shows up in your inventory when it lands in your inventory, so it doesn't just auto dismantle too if you have auto dismantle settings on. And the third engraving that you should look for is Raid Captain. Raid Captain is actually really good in Chaos Dungeons as well. This is because there's those blue wind nodes inside the Chaos Dungeon that give you full move speed. So this basically becomes like an 18% attack power boost as well on top of Contender, which is still higher than everything else with basically no penalty. And when you're looking for accessories for Chaos Dungeons, I highly recommend Swiftness. Swiftness because you want cooldowns, and most of the time there are some skills that shorten their cooldown based on X number of mobs hit or killed. Example is Gunlancer, for instance, or even Slayer with the guillotine chop, the lateral slice tripod that can shorten down to basically be refreshed every single use. On top of that, some classes' class engravings are also really good too. Their class engravings are already really strong, so you might not even have to replace some of that. And the fourth engraving that I recommend is actually Disrespect. The Disrespect is more for classes that have multi-hits. Classes like Arcana, for instance, have a lot of multi-hit skills, even though if you're Emperor, it just one-shots the screen. But your other skills, they hit like a lot of time, like shuffle, like card shuffle or whatever. That hits multiple times, so the first hit will preemptive strike and chunk the mob down probably like 1/3 of its health, or maybe even down to half. And by the time it's like at its 1/3 health, this power boost kicks in and it'll just wipe out the mob. So any class that you play that has multiple hits and doesn't exactly one-shot mobs right away or like have big hitters, you probably want to look into Disrespect instead of Raid Captain, and that might actually work out better in your benefit. As well as like the other things you want to look out for is skills that overlap with your gems. So try and also pick skills that overlap with your gems so that your gems can also stay in effect and you don't have to make like a whole new set of gems. So try to overlap certain skills that you have gems for with your Chaos Dungeon so that it just can overall be faster. In terms of cards, just pick up like your damage sets. If you got Deep Dive, since if you're new to the game, it's hard to get like Light of Salvation 30 or whatever, or 18, which is insane already. I saved up literally from launch till now just to get to this. So that's a long time to get here. Deep Dive is a good set to have for extra additional damage. Otherwise, if you're playing a really squishy class and those mobs are kind of killing you and you die and you lose time to respawn, waiting for respawn, it's better to take on like the defense sets of We'll Meet Again and Forest of the Giants. This is also a really good set for if you're learning stuff, as well as like you're struggling in certain gates and whatever, or if there's new content and you just need to like survive. These two sets are really good to help you live, as well as like for squishy classes in Chaos if you don't have armor or you just not really familiar with your skills and sometimes you die or whatever. This is a set that you may want to engage upon. It's relatively easy to get. Most of them are all from wandering merchants or just doing content within the game or opening card packs that you get from the weekly challenge. You can grind these out essentially manually. You don't have to actually wait for RNG. Well, you do have to wait for RNG in terms of the wandering merchants, but some of these you can actually just grind like a dungeon over and over and pray for the drop, which is a bit tedious, but you only have to do it once you get it there. You know, it's not like you have to re-upgrade this thing again. So it's a one-time thing once it's maxed out. And those are some sets I recommend. So Deep Dive, Light of Salvation 18, or We'll Meet Again, and Forest of Giants if you're squishy. And finally, the last part is just your gear set. So when you're doing Chaos Dungeons, do try and like set up a gear set for gear set conversion. Betrayal is very safe for the most part. Classes that do multi-hits, you'll probably end up using Betrayal anyways, because if you get the lightning field or even the lightning shots, when the mobs go under 30% health with Disrespect, the electric field just erases them from the screen, and that's it. Otherwise, if you're a big one-hitter class, Dominion actually works quite well. Dominion because it lowers your skills cooldown, and if you also max out Swiftness accessories that you find along the way with your Preemptive Strike, Contender, Raid Captain, and whatnot, it becomes really quick. Like all your big hitter skills start almost cycling in full rotation with like almost zero downtime, so you'll constantly clear the map. The other thing that I noticed in terms of like a bit of a problem when you do Chaos Dungeons is that if you actually wipe the whole screen out, there's like a small 1 to 2 second delay where mobs have to respawn, whereas if you clear them out in sort of like a clock dial, or like some kind of like non full screen wipe, like half screen wipe or whatever, it'll give the mobs continuous flow of like spawning, rather than if you clear the whole screen, it has to wait like 1 or 2 seconds, which might slow you down. And if you do that, like, you know, for 3 different waves across like 6 different characters, that could add up to minutes or whatever. So that's just some min-maxer sweaty stuff for you to keep in mind, but it's not necessary. I mean, like for my Gunlancer, I literally just press the surge cannon button over and over and over while I'm watching like a YouTube video. So it's really not that big of a difference if you're just doing it super chill mode anyways, and basically the Chaos Dungeons shouldn't really take that much effort anyways. So, but just Betrayal Scent, Dominion is another one I highly recommend. I've heard some people use Charm Set, but there might be other things. Hallucination might be one, Salvation might be another, but those are just my recommendations, Betrayal and Dominion. It's not rigid, experiment, and whatever works best for you, just go with that. And that's pretty much it for this video. Shouldn't be that long, and thanks so much for watching, and see you later.